My name is Kareem Roustom. I'm a composer. I was born in Damascus, Syria, and moved to the US in the early 80s. I was about 13 years old. And the move was something that's challenging. I think a lot of immigrants find a new home, a new country, to be something that's difficult to get acclimated to. But it was really around that time that I discovered and fell in love with music. And the long road pursuing composition is really part of that story, part of just finding out who I am in this new place. Well, my music is sometimes referred to as bilingual, and I suppose, being brought up bilingual, speaking Arabic and English and a little bit of French, the music really takes roots in both worlds. I might say classical and folk Arabic music, in addition to what you might call concert music here in the West. Those traditions, I was also trained in jazz as well, so that whole world of harmony is part of the language. So what you might imagine is a tree that sends its roots down very deeply, and as the trunk grows, the branches can go in many different directions. So the music has these roots, but depending on the project or depending on the particular piece that I'm writing, it can go in any number of different directions. Musical influences that really have taken hold from, I suppose, the concert music world. One of my earliest loves was the music of Maurice Ravel. And from there, I really discovered the music of Benjamin Britten, and that has been very close to my heart for a long time, and it still is. In some ways, I felt like I've moved on from Ravel. I'm always awed when I go back. But Britten's music, and I find that Britten's music is something I can return to and constantly find new things to learn and admire and be awed by. Music of the Arab world, I spent a lot of time performing a tradition called muashahat, which is a body of music based on old Andalusian Arabic poems, but the music itself was composed in the 19th century. So that literature was really influential, some of the folk music around it, and also the songs from what's called the golden era of Arabic music, which is really the 1920s into the late 60s, 70s. Those songs that were sung by the great diva Kulthum and the number of composers who wrote music for her, Riyad al-Sambalti, and people like him, those are also pieces that I constantly return to and learn from and look for inspiration from. So it's a mix, but it can kind of come out in any number of different ways. And I've had opportunities to work with pop musicians. I've written arrangements for Shakira and Beyonce and done a little work with Tina Turner as well. So, the projects that I work on can pull out different sounds and different influences. So the works that are on this album that I'm very excited to share with everybody are 3 string pieces for string quartet and 1 duo for violin and percussion. The first big piece is called String Quartet No. 1, Shades of Night. This was a work that was commissioned by the Grand Teton Music Festival. And really it takes its inspiration from quite archaic old Arabic words that are used to describe the different hours of the 24 hours of the day into the night. And as I was studying these words and looking into their meanings, you really begin to imagine a time when people didn't really use clocks yet. And so they had to describe a certain time of day or night using colorful words, right? So each movement begins, the whole work begins at dusk, and we wind up at dawn and go through each movement, uses one of these words, and it's very kind of poetic description as an inspiration. The second work is called 4 Dances from Clorinda Agonistes, and this is really a suite from a larger work commissioned by a dance company in London. This was originally a companion work for a Monteverdi opera. And so I've taken these 4 dances out and created this quartet work. And it's a very, unsurprisingly, very energetic, very dance-like at moments, piece with lots of different moods and colors. The 3rd string quartet work is called Syrian Folk Songs, Book 1. And this is a long-term project. I'm very excited to be able to share this first installment. And I've been studying rural and some urban folk music traditions that are new to me, and I'm learning more about. And they really tell the story of people, right? And not necessarily nations, because the culture that permeates through shifting borders is something that lasts much longer than what we might define as what Syria is now or what Syria was 100 years ago. And they're beautiful melodies. The lyrics express all kinds of sentiments, heartbreak and love and yearning to see a beloved and these types of ideas. And I think it's really important to have these because, first of all, it's a way to document these traditions that are perhaps dying out. Second of all, it just expresses the basic humanity of a people. And I think at a time when so many Syrians have been displaced because of the civil war and that many are still fleeing, I think it's important to just remind ourselves that these people also have their songs, they also have their loves and their heartbreaks and their aspirations, just like anybody else. The last work is called Gnizo, and that is, the word itself is from the Syriac language, which is a very ancient Semitic language, and it generally means invisible, but it really refers to the liturgy from the Antiochian Church, which is a Syrian Orthodox church. And this was a piece that I composed during the lockdown for my friends who will record it on the album. And it's a very meditative work, and it looks to these sung hymns from this repertoire to sort of give a sense of calm, a sense of stability, and perhaps even just looking for that feeling that one can get from communal singing. But I reimagined all of this in a very, hopefully, colorful duo for violin and varied percussion. Working with the Balourdet Quartet was just an absolute thrill for me. They are a young, fabulous, excellent string quartet, energetic. They were here in Boston for a number of years, have since moved out of state, but I'm thrilled that they were able to come back here to work closely with me. They've been performing some of these pieces at their concerts, so really they came into the recording session knowing these pieces quite well. But over the number of days that we were recording, we really got to know each other, and I just got to see the depth of this quartet. And I really think this is a quartet to watch for the future. Really fabulous musicians, very creative, very imaginative, and just absolutely lovely people to work with. What I hope for listeners, any listeners to my music, and specifically this album, is that they will feel something, that they will be moved, that they will perhaps be inspired to explore things beyond just the listening and learn more about these traditions and the people that created these traditions. And I think, well, I hope that brings us one step closer to humanizing each other.